Am I in the screen right? Okay. Now I can cut the beginning off. So shut the door and go. Hello. This is lesson number 40, and it's called Cut Your Losses. This is one of the most important things to be a successful human being you can do. It's so simple, and it's almost no one does it. Las Vegas is built on this. It's called the gambler's dilemma. Very few people, if they're down $50 in a poker game, can just say, well, I was a dummy. I was an idiot. I lost $50. I better go now. They're not going to get any more out of me. They have to stay until they lose $1,000 or lose everything they have. Know to cut your losses. Know when to cut your losses and quit investing good money. Don't throw good money after bad. There's so many cliches to this, but it's such a simple lesson. Cut your losses and move on. Everyone makes mistakes. Everyone does something dumb. Everyone does something they shouldn't have. And the people that recognize that the fastest and move on, make the course correction and move on, fix their mistake and move on, are the most successful people. Cut your losses. Know when to cut your losses and leave. Everyone has a loss. Learn to cut it. Like I said, Las Vegas builds hundreds of millions of dollars worth of real estate. They fly you in there. They feed you. Because once you start gambling, you can't admit, I was a sucker. I was a chump. I shouldn't have done that. And that's just one example. Old-fashioned door-to-door salesmen. They knew that if they got their foot in the door and talked to you for an hour, you'd buy. Because very few people can say, I shouldn't have let this idiot in my house. Why did I let him in my house and listen to him for an hour? That was foolish. They'll buy the $1,000 vacuum cleaner. They'll buy the big booklet of tickets or whatever. Because once you have an emotional investment in something, it's very hard to say, I was wrong. I was foolish. People can't go through that shame. They can't face the pain. And it can be a tiny thing or it can be a huge thing. Here's an example of a huge thing. There was an old story, it's quite a while ago, out west. There was a guy, he was a college student, I think Arizona State, or I don't know where he went to school, but I was out west. And he worked in the grocery stores in the summer. And then he'd go back to school for the term, and then every summer he worked in the grocery store. And this was back before the grocery store chains. And one guy came in one day, and he was a stock boy and just did whatever. And the store owner said, hey, give this guy whatever he wants. And the college kid said, okay. And the guy looked like an animal. He was dressed in greasy rags. He smelled. His hair was dirty. He was just bent over, and he just looked like the worst bum you ever saw. And the guy goes, all right. And he wanted like 50 pounds of flour and 30 pounds of beans, 10 pounds of salt, 20 pounds of sugar. He was giving him supplies. He was a prospector, and he was going back out. And he came in every 6 months, twice a year, and got supplies and went back out, and that had to last him. And the prospector, the old man, said to the store owner, he says, hey, when I strike it rich, I'm going to pay you back 1,000 times. You're going to be a millionaire. We're both going to be millionaires. And the store owner said, oh, I know. It's a good investment. It's like it's better than buying a lottery ticket. And the prospector said, oh, it's way better than buying a lottery ticket. I'm real close. I'm close to getting the mother lode. I'm following those mines. I'm following the lines. I'm following the stream. And he was bent over, and he'd been mining in the cold water. He had rheumatoid arthritis in his bad knees. Every day he hurt and ached, and his fingers were from being in the cold water all the time and digging and sleeping on the ground. And so he actually had a donkey in the parking lot, and he loaded up the donkey and went back out into the field. And the kid said, because he had some geology courses, he said, there's no gold left. All those old mines have been played out for years. There's no gold back there. You're not going to get your money back. And the store owner said, oh, I know. I'm just, doesn't hurt to have a little charity in your heart. You don't want to see an old man starve. And it doesn't hurt to be nice. And the kid said, well, you're not being nice. You need to tell, he's living like an animal. He's a miserable life. It's terrible. He's never done anything. You need to tell him you're not being kind. Tell him there's no gold out there. And the store owner said, kid, that old man knows the land better than me and you put together. He knows this land like the back of his hand. He's been out there for 30 years, sleeping in it every night. He knows there's no gold. And the college kid went, wait a minute. If he knows there's no gold out there, why does he sacrifice everything and keep looking for gold? And the store owner said, son, if he was to ever stop looking for gold, he'd have to first stop and admit that the last 30 years of his life have been a waste. And he's made a huge mistake. And no one can be that wrong for that long. To do that, son, would kill him. So he's got to go looking for that gold. He's got to go out every day searching for that gold, because he can't admit he's done that wrong. Now, that's a pretty dramatic example and a dramatic story. I hope it really it should rock you to the core. You're like, wow. Because the next thing you should do is the implications of that story. And I don't know a single person in this world that story doesn't apply to. I know people that have been in a bad marriage or left a bad marriage after 15 years, and they knew it was bad after 5 years, but they had 5 years invested. And so they kept going. Or and then they had 10 years invested, and God, that's a long time to be with somebody. Maybe I should, no, I got all 10 years invested in. It could be a job. They hate a job, but they've been in it long enough. They're close to, I know many people who are at the second year in college. They hate the major they're in, or they dislike it, and they know that's not the one for them. But they got 2 years in it, and they don't want to, I've already got 2 years in it. Now think about that. They've got 2 years in this major, and they go ahead for the next 2 years to get it, to graduate, and then they spend a lifetime in a job with that. And now when you're young, that time seems like it goes forever, but an older person looking back on that would go, wow, I should have switched majors. I'd be a lot happier now, the investment of time. It is a huge thing. It could be anything. I mean, the people don't know when to cut their losses and go on. No matter how long you've been gone, no matter how long you've driven down the wrong road, stop, turn around. Just keep going the wrong direction continuously, because you're prideful, ashamed, or refuse to admit you've made a mistake is a trap for so many people. I told this story once, maybe 20, 25 years ago, and it was a guy I worked with, and he said, oh my God, do you know why I drive this van to work every day? And I said, no. He had a great big van, big old 3/4-ton van. And I said, no. He says, because I bought a boat, and I bought the boat, and then I had to buy the van to pull the boat, and my wife hates the boat, and I haven't been in the boat for 5 years, but I got to keep the van so that I could one day pull the boat, and I haven't pulled that boat for that van for 5 years, and it's in the boat's in my driveway, and the van's there, and I hate them, and I can't park it. It's hard to park. It guzzles gas. I hate this van. And it was like a big cold bucket of water washed over him, and then that was like, wow, that's pretty amazing. I mean, it just went like that. That's not you. That almost never. That's a once in a lifetime story, because usually when you tell stories, you give advice, or you hit someone right to the core. You can tell when you're telling the truth because it hurts. There's another story, almost the opposite of that, where a guy is digging in the ground. He's digging in the dirt with his fingers, and his fingernails are broken, and they're breaking, and his fingers are bleeding, and he is struggling, and a guy hands him a nice new shovel. And he's like, he takes it, and he digs, and it's so much easier, it's so much smoother, and it's moving the dirt so well. And he's digging away, and then all of a sudden he goes, ah! And he beats the guy to death. He kills the guy, beats him in the head with the shovel, kills him, breaks his shovel, throws it away, and goes back to digging in the dirt with his hands. That's 99% of people. Very few people can admit they've been wrong and just walk away. Learn to walk away a loser. It'll make you walk away a winner. It can be the most outrageous. People wonder, and it can be the smallest thing. Somebody could be a Democrat their whole lives, and maybe their viewpoints go more with the Republican candidate, but they can't do it. Or they're Republican their whole lives, and the Democrat candidate fits them better, but they won't do it. They could be a Catholic or a Presbyterian or a Buddhist or a Muslim or whatever. People ask about Muslim fundamentalists doing crazy things. Well, if you've invested all your life in that, you're not going to say you're wrong. It could be a cult. It could be a cult of the hairy spider, and he's going to come down one day, and all the people go out in a field, and he doesn't show up. Does that make the cult disappear? No, their belief gets stronger. They cannot admit they're that wrong. There's an old saying, it's easier to fool a man than to convince a man he's been fooled. And so it's easier to fool a man than to convince a man he's been fooled. Learn to cut your losses. Don't throw good money after bad. Those are all cliches, but boy, they're not trivial. They are so important. Now that we've identified the problem, here's the thing. Our natural instinct as humans, our natural programming, is to avoid pain, avoid shame, which is just pain, avoid these things. So if you avoid the pain and you run away from the pain, you're just going to stay trapped. You're going to stay in the bad situation. You're just delaying it. You're procrastinating. You're kicking the can down the road. You're never dealing with it. The only way through shame is to go through the shame. Say, I was an idiot. I shouldn't have lost $50 in this game. My wife was right. Or it's better than say, whoa, I was an idiot. I lost $500 in this game. Or that ne'er-do-well friend, he's been a lousy friend for 5 years. He borrows money, never shows up. Forget him. You wouldn't take him if he was a new guy you met, but you have so much invested in him. So this is true with finding out, which is another chapter in the book, of find out what people have invested, because then you'll understand seemingly illogical behavior. So, but this is lesson, I think, number 40, which the lessons change. It's cut your losses. Try to keep them in alphabetical order. So if you can learn to cut your losses and look at your life objectively in what areas you are losing and you need to get out of the game. Quit throwing good money after bad. Quit putting good effort into bad. It doesn't, and don't let your pride and your emotions and your shame rule you. So thank you very much. Hope this helps somebody somewhere. I wish somebody had told this to me when I was young. So thank you very much.